welcome to the She Certified podcast, where we talk all things faith and navigating life with God. Recently, I was sleeping in the middle of the night, and I wake up around 12 for my son's feeding. He's now 6 months old. So he feeds, and once he's done, he falls asleep again. But I struggle to fall asleep after this. And I remember I'm tossing and I'm turning in bed. And for some reason, while I'm tossing and turning, my mind starts to wander off, and I'm thinking about the season that we as a family are currently in, where we are moving from one city to the next, and we are trusting God, we are trusting His word, we are trusting what He's placed in our hearts. We really don't have a plan of how things are going to work out, or what is in the next city for us, or what the Lord has in store for us. But what we do know is that we are now in a season where we have to leave where we currently are and pursue what is next, and what is next only He knows. So anyway, I'm tossing and I'm turning, and now fear strikes me because you I start thinking about the bills. I start thinking about the things that are currently our responsibilities, and how we are going to navigate our way around them. I start thinking about leaving our friends, leaving our family, leaving the people that we've carved out a life with the past 3-4 years almost, being in Cape Town as a family. And while this is happening, I fear. I start to feel fear in my heart. And as I feel fear in my heart, I want to pray. But I know that if I start praying, my son is gonna wake up, and I don't want to deal with having to put him to sleep again. But for some reason, because I had prayed earlier before bed, I start speaking the word inside my heart. I start speaking the word that I was praying on inside my heart, to just calm down my raging heart, to calm down the fear that I'm now starting to feel. And my son turns over. He was facing another direction. We are co-sleeping. So he turns over. When he turns over, his hand touches my lips, holds my lips, and then he removes it, and then he places it again on my head. This could have been a coincidence, it could have been a reflex, but in that moment, I received it as though God was saying, "Peace be still." I received it as though God was just showing me that you don't have to worry about this. I've got this. I've heard you. I heard the prayer you made. I've got you. Trust me. And for some reason, immediately after this little human being placed his hands on me, I felt sleepy, and I just went into a deep sleep right after that. What I want to talk about today is that faith doesn't mean I'm not afraid. Faith doesn't mean I'm not anxious. Faith doesn't mean the feelings I'm feeling are invalid. But what faith means is I can see and I can feel, but I choose to confess. It means I can see, my eyes can see what is happening. My body can feel the anxiousness, the anxiety, the tremble, the fear. But I choose. What I do is I choose to speak faith. I choose to speak what I believe. But in that as well, I found you can't speak what you don't have inside. Because the word of God says that in the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if my heart is filled with things that are not nourishing my spirit, things that are not growing me in my faith, things that are not aligning in the season that I'm in, therefore the confession I speak will be a confession of fear. It will be a confession confirming what I'm feeling instead of a confession that says, I see what's happening, but I choose to believe. And I think that's the struggle most of us battle with, that it isn't that hard times are not going to come, or challenging times or times that require faith are not going to come. And it isn't that there are special kinds of people that deal with things, but it is in how we navigate seasons that call us to be afraid, that call us to anxiety, that call us to worry, and all of these feelings. How do we navigate that? How do we speak in those seasons? And I woke up, I told my husband, I'm like, hey, I did not rest well. And I told him what happened between me and my son. And he said to me, I've been in a season right now, or I've been feeling that God is saying that if you're not going to speak faith, keep quiet. If you're not going to be in agreement with what I'm doing in your life, keep quiet. I felt that in my heart, and that's what I want to speak about today. That our greatest challenge is not the situations or the problems we find ourselves in, or our inability to hear God, but our greatest challenge is what's in the belly. What do you speak? What's in your belly? In the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. What's in the heart? What have you eaten? What have you digested? What has marinated inside of you that will allow you, when hard times come, to speak not in agreement with the hard times, but to speak yourself out of the hard times? The word of God says, let me just pull it up. In the book of Proverbs 3, 5 to 6, it says that trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not in your own understanding. And in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your path. What does this mean? What does it mean to trust in the Lord with all our hearts? How do you trust someone you don't know? How do you give your full trust to someone you don't understand, to someone you don't know their heart for you? How do we come to a place where we trust in the Lord and we lean not in our own understanding? And I believe the answer to that is in that very line. We need to know the Lord in order for us to trust in him. I remember when my husband and I used to date, or rather court, and I was wilding out. I was wilding out, and I did not trust him with my heart, not because he did anything to me, but for some reason he seemed too good to be true. And I was like, sir, if you knew me, you would not be pursuing me. And I think I did everything I could think of to push this man away. However, who he was, his maturity, his faith, every time I pushed him away, it came and warmed me up. It pulled me in closer. Every time something happened where I was ready to run away, I was ready to say, well, this is not working out, bye. He just came and he embraced me and he held me. And in that process, walls started falling down. Walls of distrust started falling down. Walls of fear started falling down. In that process, I started believing that maybe I can be loved. Maybe I can learn how to commit. Maybe not just I can be loved, but maybe I can also love back fully, without fear, without holding anything back, without one foot in and one foot out, without being lukewarm. I can fully give myself in this thing. So, what does the Word of God do? The Word of God becomes that thing that brings us in closer every time fear rises. The Word of God becomes a shield. It sort of becomes big hands that are big and chubby and warm that just comes and embraces us in moments when we feel afraid. In moments when we are scared and we don't understand, the Word of God comes and it holds us together and it says everything will be okay. But we will not know this until we invest in reading the Word of God to understand the heart of the Father for us, to understand what it means when He says, trust not, trust in me. To understand what it means when He says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean in your own understanding. And in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your path. The only way to trust God and to give it all to Him, to give the season to Him, to give everything that we're going through to Him, and let go of the control, let go of trying to understand, let go of trying to make to explain to ourselves, to just let go of everything. The only way we can do this, I believe, we need to put the Word inside of us, so that when we put it inside of us, when a situation is not in agreement with the Word, when the situation is coming and it doesn't match the character of God that we've read, that we've studied, that we've put inside our hearts and in our bellies, when it comes and it rises up against what we believe or against who God says He is, we are then able to speak the Word of God against that situation, and our storms inside our heads become calm because we realize that He's heard us. We realize that we don't need to do anything to be qualified. We realize that we don't need to prove anything to Him, but He hears us. He heard our prayer. He says in the book of Daniel, when the angel comes and delivers the answer, the book of Daniel says that God heard you. The first day you prayed, He's praying now for 21 days, and it says, God heard you the first day you prayed and delivered the answer, but it was held by the prince of Persia. So, when we understand that God hears us on the first attempt of prayer, when we understand that God hears the very utterances, the very thought prayers that we make, the very prayers we make with our mouths, the very prayers we make with our hands when we write down, when we understand that in the first time I come into your court is in the first time I come into your court and I pray, you hear me and you answer me. We get to understand that if the situation is not changing, then it's not matching the character of God. And therefore, we continue to speak the Word of God until we see it come to pass. Faith doesn't mean we are not afraid. Faith doesn't mean we are not confused. But faith means that I trust. I've spent time. I've spent time in your word. I've spent time to try and understand who you are. And therefore I know. It says in the book of, as we come to the closing of this, in Romans 10 verse 17, it says, so faith comes from hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ. What are you hearing? What are you listening to? What are you feeding yourself? Where are you? Can you locate yourself? Because even when God goes back into the Garden of Eden and He looks for Adam, He says, Adam, where are you? It isn't God doesn't know where Adam is, but God is trying to help Adam locate where he is. You've shifted, Adam. You've shifted from our communion. You've shifted from a place where we speak to each other without fear, without separation. You've shifted and you are hiding. Where are you? Where are you, Adam? Where are you? So the where are you is not a where are you where God is saying I can't find where you are, but it's a where are you that says, Adam, do you even know where you are? Do you even know how far you've wandered off from our communion, from our relationship, from our place of intimacy where I speak to you and you speak back to me? Do you even know where you are? And I think that in the season, like I said, that we are in a season where we are trusting God and we believe His hand over our lives is saying that it is time for us to make the move, even though circumstantially we do not understand what that looks like. We don't fully have all the answers, but I believe that the way to pull through and to push through this season is to speak the word of God, is to put and digest the word of God inside of us, so that when troubles rise up, we bubble up faith and the word of God comes out of us. I hope this will bless you. Have a fantastic day.